And welcome to a brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As always, I am Metal Matt, and joined by me is.
This is your one-winged angel, live from beautiful California. How's it going, Matt?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
It's going well. It's another good Friday, so I'm ready for the weekend. But first, we got some wrestling to tackle.
Yep, and OneWingedAngel is joining me. You might remember him from the infamous 5.5 hour broadcast when we talked about WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, I only lasted an hour that one. And then I had to go do something, and I came back, and I'm like, this is still on?
Yeah.
These guys are nuts.
Yeah.
It's all for the love of the sport that we love, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And tonight we're going to be covering a rather interesting episode. It's a bit infamous, a little bit. We are going to be talking about No Mercy 2002. And Angel, were you watching around this time?
Oh, absolutely. I was in high school at this time, and I was just starting to drive. So this is when I was really into it, and I was traveling, going to shows all over the place whenever they had them, anywhere in California or nearby states. So I was really into it at this time, not just straight TV, but actually getting to the shows. And at this point, I also had to pay for pay-per-views because I lost the free hookup that I used to have. But that's another story.
Did you watch this pay-per-view live?
Yes. I remember this one because it was part of a package where you got SummerSlam through Survivor Series for one low price.
Nice.
Through my cable operator. So.
And when you watched it at the time, what were your thoughts on it?
It's hard to think back that much. I mean, I've lived a lot of life in the last 15 years. But everyone remembers Triple H and Kane, that whole story. And kind of at the time, I was just thinking, this is dumb. I wasn't really thinking of the historical impact it would end up having. Also, with the women wrestlers, definitely going back and watching it again, I just wasn't thinking of it at the time as, wow, they really, aren't doing these women justice compared to now. And anyone that complains about how it is now, watch a show like this, and you really see the leaps and bounds of improvement that they've made.
Yeah,
but at the time, it was par for the course.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the piss break. And then, of course, you just had the incredible action with the tag team division at this time was stacked, and I do remember that vividly. So,
yeah, I was going to say that as well because
mm-hmm.
I am someone who, let's just say, isn't a huge fan of the women's division. Now, let me clarify. I don't like the booking of the women's division much nowadays. I think they have some really good wrestlers. The booking isn't really great, but I think like the last show I watched for the podcast was Raw Roulette 2002, and that's where Stacy Keibler and Trish Stratus competed in a bra and panties paddle and a pole match for the women's title. And so watching that, it does give you some perspective. It does give you some perspective on women's wrestling now. It's like, you know what? Maybe the booking isn't quite great, but at least it's not that.
Absolutely. And I tend to agree with the booking. I mean, it is what it is. The writing is going to have its ups and downs, but, at least the wrestlers can go out there and do what they need to do as much as they can with whatever time they're given.
Yeah. And so, No Mercy 2002 took place at the Alltel Arena in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And the theme song, it's going back to SummerSlam a little bit, because last year we had last month at Unforgiven we had a proper musical artist. This month for No Mercy, it's another Jim Johnson original, much like SummerSlam, and this song is simply called No Mercy. And what do you think of this theme song?
It's pretty standard, but at this time, and I remember vividly, I don't know if it was this show or another show, I was watching with one of my friends, and we were like, man, nobody can put together video packages with the music and the feel like WWE. And at this time, especially, all the video packages that were running through the event with this theme song were phenomenal, I thought. And it really added to because they were really going for a hardcore, like, we're going to beat you down kind of show. And that's kind of how the song felt for me, at least.
Yeah, it was more rock back then compared to the pop and the rap nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Godsmack today at Grace Royal Rumble.
Yep. I'm excited about that, actually. But I can't wait for the new album. Just throwing that out there.
It just came out today.
Oh, yeah. So they're one of my favorites, especially one of the best I've ever seen live. But we could talk metal all day.
Yeah.
That's us. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I thought the theme song was okay. Not one of Jim Johnson's better originals, but it is what it is. I thought it was enjoyable enough. It fit the show, or at least the main event, anyway. So we get a cold open to start the show. That doesn't happen very often.
That was surprising. I didn't remember that at all. But
yeah, we get Kane and Taker, and both Kane and Undertaker, well, they haven't had very good a good few weeks, to say the least. Undertaker is being accused of having an affair with a woman from his past, and Kane has been accused of murder and necrophilia. And so
yeah. That happened, ladies and gentlemen.
And we'll get more into that.
Two main event programs during one of the company's hottest eras. And those were the stories that we were given. But I don't know. We can get into the actual stories as we get to the match, I guess. But all I can do is laugh at that, how you presented that.
But Kane does try to add a bit of levity to the situation. Kane just sits down alongside Undertaker in the locker room, turns to him and says, "So, how was your week?" Just some brotherly bonding.
Yeah, it was a good open. I liked the scene a lot of all the backstage segments. I think it was one of the best for the show. It was short, to the point. They both have world title matches tonight. And, they're both pretty much the underdogs. And that's a lot saying the Undertaker is an underdog. But it's true in this case.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like, it's weird. One, the Brothers of Destruction each are in a world title feud right now, which is really cool. And second, both of them are also somehow the underdogs in these feuds, which is so weird. It's a weird time for really both of them, really, because both of them really are they're more human during this era.
Oh, absolutely. Kane, even though he has the mask, you can tell he definitely has the more human side. I really enjoyed this version of Kane, except for the storyline, but his look was on point. He wasn't trying to talk with that little throat manipulator thing anymore. And I don't know, isn't this right after he had just come back from being out for a while? And he had that huge return.
Yeah, he had just come back from a biceps injury the night after SummerSlam. So this is really the beginning of this little run here.
probably one of his biggest popularity moments because he was over huge
Oh
when he
yeah,
came back.
definitely. Like Kane really has a ton of momentum coming into this match. So, well, we all know how that went.
Like,
If I do not win the title,
oh man, those were good days.
Katie Vick was a friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we do get a cool show opener. We do get a
Yeah.
really cool like video package highlighting both feuds, and I think they did a good job with Kane and Triple H, but they do a really great job with Taker and Brock with Paul Heyman doing the intro to it, doing the narration. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So our opening match here is Booker T and Goldust versus Chris Jericho and Christian for the World Tag Team titles. And Jericho and Booker T are they're sort of beginning a feud here. And Jericho and Christian had just won the tag titles the previous week from Hurricane and Kane on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So this has a bit more of a story going for it than you would probably think. So Booker and Christian start things off, and Booker and Goldust actually do have the advantage. And Goldust ends up launching Jericho outside onto Christian. Oh, speaking of Christian, those god awful singlet tights. My God.
I have that on my notes. I'm like, ask Matt about Christian's outfit.
I hate this attire for Christian. I was talking about it in the Raw Roulette, episode, and it still rings true.
It's so bad.
It's the
so
worst attire. Like, I would rather have him wear the Seinfeld puffy shirt attire again.
Yeah.
At least
he looked so awkward. I don't know. It was a really weird look. It didn't fit his body type at all. So
yeah, I always like the mesh tank top and tights a lot better.
Yeah, when they were the Edge and Christian tag team, that's when they had perfect attire for that.
Oh yeah, totally. So Jericho and Christian end up getting the advantage. And here's something that really is the most memorable part about this match. Jericho goes for a lion salt, and the middle rope breaks.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intended to happen, or it definitely caught me off guard. I don't remember it happening when I first watched this, but it didn't really turn out to be they kind of focused away from it a little bit. So I don't know if it was an unintentional thing, but stuff like that can have, it's a very dangerous spot to try and pull off, though, I think, if they were attempting to do that on purpose.
Mm-hmm. It felt like an accident to me. I don't know if it was planned.
I would agree. Yeah, that's just something like that is just way too dangerous, because if he's going to hit that rope and it's going to just break, it's really hard to brace yourself for that kind of. He really doesn't know if it's going to break, and if it does, he's got to land a certain way without kind of ending up like, remember when Enzo got hurt going through the ropes, like last year, or however long ago it was. But I don't know. I think it was unintentional.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. And yeah, it would be a really, really dangerous spot to do intentionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it does seem like they kind of have to improvise a finish. But Jericho ends up bulldogging Goldust onto the title belt, and he ends up hitting the moonsault off the turnbuckle for the win. I have to imagine that if the rope didn't break, it would have just been a lion's hold.
Yeah, and they if they did improvise it, it was done excellently. I like the finish. This is more of kind of a fun style tag match.
Mm-hmm.
Booker T and Goldust were just. I don't know if they were trying to make that happen again with R-Truth, but the chemistry that the two of them had was just uncanny. It was a great thing to see. It was a good kind of comedy in wrestling where it was actually funny, but they could actually back it up in the ring, even though they lost this match. But they lost it to two of my favorites ever, but two great competitors.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this match overall, it was a decent match, but at the same time, it was a Raw match. It was a Raw match.
Mm-hmm.
This was something that you easily could have seen on Raw or something like that. It didn't really feel like a pay-per-view match.
I agree for sure with that.
So we go backstage, and I know this is something that you've been wanting to talk about, Angel, because you mentioned it on the Daily. SmackDown's #1 announcer, Funaki, interviews Al Wilson.
Oh, good God. This is a storyline and angle that had been put into the vault away in the depths of my brain that I never even imagined would be brought back out. So if people don't remember, there were plenty of scenes on SmackDown during this time with Tori Wilson, her father, Al Wilson, who is just typical old white man, ends up in the shower with Dawn Marie. And
as you do.
You can just take it from there. I don't.
As you do. Yeah, Al Wilson, who is Tori Wilson's father, and I don't know if this guy was Tori Wilson's actual father or if
I don't remember either.
Yeah, I don't know if it was her actual father or if they just hired like some actor to play him.
Mm-hmm.
But
they do that sometimes. But
yeah. But so Al Wilson was introduced around this time, and trying to think what all happened there. I know about the shower scene with him and Dawn Marie. I know. I think it was like the previous 2 weeks they were trying to build up a romance between Dawn Marie and Al Wilson, which is so weird. And honestly, like, this storyline, let's just put it this way, is the best the storyline is going to be at this point, because it all goes down. It goes downhill from here. And this interview is so bad. It is so bad.
Oh, it was just atrociously bad.
Yeah, and I like Funaki. I really do. I love Funaki.
Yeah.
And this SmackDown #1 announcer gimmick that he had, it was kind of amusing, but maybe it was just me, but did it kind of come off as kind of racist to you?
Oh, absolutely. Even during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like 15 years ago, things were still not as super PC as they are now, but you could tell even then. I was like, man, this is just blatant.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Funaki here.
Me too, yeah.
But yeah, like, this interview is so bad. And like the previous 2 weeks, first 2 weeks, Dawn Marie like gives him a sneak peek at her lingerie that she's gonna be wearing like this lingerie contest and whatever. And Funaki asks, "How did that sneak peek make you feel?" And Al Wilson's like, "Well, okay. How does a sneak peek make you feel?" Well, and then the previous week, Funaki asked him, which is actually a pretty legit question now that I think about it. Why were you wearing your clothes in the shower? That's honestly kind of a good question.
The whole thing. But
and Al Wilson responds with, quite frankly, I don't know about you, but perhaps the most timely joke ever. I did not have sexual
Yeah.
relations with that woman. Wow, way to put in the Bill Clinton reference in 2002 WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You got your finger on the pulse.
Just always late to the party, but that just capped off what was the worst waste of 3 minutes of my life. That now 6 minutes of my life because I had to watch twice. That I'll ever get back.
Yeah, this was awful. And speaking of awful, let's move on to the next match: Tori Wilson versus Dawn Marie. And honestly, there's not much to say about this match. There really isn't. They brawl on the outside for a bit.
Yeah, they're two. I mean, absolutely gorgeous women. That is sure, but their skills in the ring were just never refined, and this match wasn't going to be anything good. It was kind of surprisingly competitive. I'll give it that. Yeah. It could have just been a complete dumpster fire, but they actually showed a little bit of finesse in there. I always thought, I don't know, Dawn Marie really wasn't made to be in the ring. I know they tried to make Tori, but I remember the Dawn Marie from ECW. That's the Dawn Marie I loved. And when she came to WWE, I thought they tried to really just do too much with her. But
yeah, so
Tori it is what it is. This match was what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Tori Wilson ends up both of them end up rolling over the referee, and Tori Wilson wins with a neck breaker. I thought this match was absolutely terrible. The worst match of the night for me.
Well, definitely. That's for sure. But I'll say it was terrible, but it wasn't as terrible as I was expecting when I was, gearing up to watch this. But I had the worst of worst expectations, so.
So we go backstage, and Coach interviews RVD, and RVD says that he's not Ric Flair. He just says that he's a chair smashing, frog splashing, risk taking, yin and yanging, Van Daminating dude. Woo!
Yeah, I think he was hitting up the pipe on that one.
Probably. And maybe not coincidentally, this is one of my favorite RVD WWE promos.
It definitely fit his character. He's that laid back, I don't care. I'm going to say whatever I want. And, I've got this classic, legend here, and I'm going to show him that I'm the best damn wrestler in the world.
So the action continues backstage as Coach ends up catching Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, and Tracy backstage. And Tracy says that everything she said about Undertaker is true. So we'll find that out later on in the show. And Tracy, just for context, Tracy is the woman that's claiming to have been having an affair with the Undertaker. And so we move on to the next match, which is Ric Flair versus Rob Van Dam. And this match all started when Ric Flair ended up turning heel on Rob Van Dam and hit him in the ribs with a sledgehammer at Unforgiven, costing him the world title. And so this match starts off just so intense to start. RVD and Flair just brawl on the outside. RVD knocks Flair into the front row and hits a leg drop on him. And Ric Flair ends up gaining the advantage after a low blow, and then he controls most of the match for a bit. RVD is able to get out of the figure four and hits the 5-star frog splash for the win. I thought this was a pretty good match. It was actually a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Honestly, I had kind of forgotten about this match a little bit. I really did. But I thought this match was a pretty enjoyable match. But much like the Raw Tag Team Title match, it was probably a match that probably could have happened on Raw, but nonetheless, I thought this was a pretty enjoyable match for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely forgot that these two even had a mini feud that resulted in a pay-per-view match. But Ric Flair at this time, even though he was very limited, he still made the best of what he could do. And one thing that he always did well is he can just make anyone look good. And he made Rob Van Dam look damn good, even though he is damn good. He can sell like a maniac. And I love the finish. I love he goes for the cheat, and Van Dam ends up getting the upper hand. That's how the babyface should win. And that was just I thought it was a solid exposition. Ric Flair, played his strength. He is the dirtiest player in the game, but he also makes you look freaking good in there. So
yeah, it was a good match all around. So we go backstage, and Eric Bischoff walks in on Big Show talking with Stephanie McMahon. So Big Show he's had an interesting couple of months here in WWE because he is nowhere on the card. He the term mid card hell is running around a lot these days, but at this point in time, Big Show was straight deep in the mid card hell. He has nothing to work with here.
Absolutely nothing. He just, he was getting from here. He got thrust into main event after this, but that's for the Survivor Series era. But at this point, he was really treading water. There was just, I don't know. I don't even remember what he was up to, really.
Nothing. Yeah. That's what he was up to. He was up to nothing.
When I saw him and in this whole scene right here, I was like, man, I don't remember anything about Big Show during this time and this is still when he, was very athletic and could do a lot of good things in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But they just had nothing for him. There were too many. There were too many stars. Even with split rosters, there were way too many stars at this time, and which kind of rightfully so, I guess, of all the superstars that were there at the time, that he would end up being the odd man out for the time being. But that was that.
Yeah, and they do make it a storyline. Like Big Show says, I haven't been on a pay-per-view since July. I haven't main evented a pay-per-view, and I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I think the last pay-per-view he main evented was, I want to say Survivor Series 2001, I think. Because he was part of that winner take all WWF versus the Alliance match.
Yeah. You're probably right about that.
So
Survivor Series was always kind of his pay-per-view for a while there.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right because he won the title.
He won 2 world titles. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 99 he won, I think. Was it 99 or 2000? 99.
99.
Yeah. 99. And then the main event 01, the main event 02. So he was there.
So next matchup is Tajiri versus Jamie Noble for the Cruiserweight title. And Tajiri attacks Noble before the match even starts, and it's a moonsault off the ropes onto the outside. And there isn't really much of a story going into this match. Noble and Tajiri in storyline, they were kind of like acquaintances a little bit. I don't think they were like best friends on screen or anything like that, but they were acquaintances, but they're a few now, and I don't know. Like for me, this match, I don't know. There wasn't really much to this match. It's a back and forth match for the most part. Tajiri hits a buzzsaw kick on Noble. Nydia ends up making out with the referee, and Nydia helps Noble roll up Tajiri. After the match, Tajiri and Noble take turns making out with Nydia, and Tajiri buzzsaw kicks Noble. So overall, I thought this match it was okay, I guess, but there wasn't really much to it. I think that during his reign as Cruiserweight champion, I think Noah has had much better matches. I don't know, just something about this match seemed off to me.
Yeah, there wasn't a clear direction, and their two styles, I don't know, maybe it just didn't connect very well. Jamie Noble's more of a kind of a technical kind of cruiserweight, and then you have the hard hitting Tajiri, and I loved Tajiri at this time. I thought, yeah, he was kind of a hidden gem that would just every kick looked like it hurt, and I could feel the pain.
Yeah,
the tarantula was one of the most over moves that you'll ever see, especially for illegal babyface moves.
Yeah. And it really is kind of ineffective when you think about it.
It's completely ineffective. But when he would bust it out in ECW, it was just the coolest thing because it just looked cool.
Yeah.
But
yeah, totally.
For the match itself, I don't know. It did what it needed to do. I didn't like the finish. I would have rather Noble just pinned him when he hit the Tiger Bomb. Because that's one of my favorite moves ever. And two, it would have made him stronger than, I don't know, pinning him 3 seconds later off a roll-up. So.
Yeah, like I think both guys were great at this time, but I don't know, the match just didn't quite click for me. And I like Jamie Noble too. Jamie Noble, boy! You like that boy? You like that boy? You like that boy?
And I loved their gimmick. I thought, and they played it perfectly. I mean, they kind of do the soft PG version of it now with Heath Slater, but these two were, excuse me if I offend anyone, complete white trash, and it was amazing. I don't like how they, now it definitely wouldn't fly because of how they made Nydia really an object.
Yeah.
Especially with the Tajiri making out and then Noble being like, well, this is how you kiss a woman kind of thing. That was just, I don't know, that was kind of cringeworthy. But the two of them had good chemistry as a manager-wrestler duo. And especially anything that could keep Nydia out of the ring, though. But that's a different story.
So backstage, Chris Benoit tricks Eddie Guerrero, and Chavo Guerrero gets beaten up by Kurt Angle.
This was, I don't know, it didn't really click with me very much. I get what they were trying to do.
Right.
But Eddie didn't sell it very well, which that's hard for me to say because it's Eddie Guerrero and he's one of the best ever. But the whole, I mean, it was obvious that it was Chavo. You could, I get what they were trying to do. They're trying to be funny with Eddie, like, oh, that's not him, but it was.
That's a little girl's voice.
Yeah, no, it was just.
Yeah,
but, and it did complete the story of them locking Kurt in the closet and beating him up, but. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think it came off like they really wanted it to.
Yeah, I think the execution was it was missing something.
Yeah, I remember during this time I was expecting more of a run-in type situation during the match than what they did here, but they tried and failed. It happens. We move on.
Yeah. Coming up next. Triple H versus Kane in a winner-take-all match. Champion versus champion. Intercontinental title and World Heavyweight title on the line. And before you even go to the storyline, let's talk about like the actual stipulation in this match. It's a champion versus champion match. It's a winner take all match, but the Intercontinental title really isn't on the line at all. In fact, they outright say it's getting retired after this match, no matter who wins. And I don't know, for me, I hated it at the time, and I hate it even more now because I don't know, like the Intercontinental title, like it's a title that spans so many decades. It means a lot to a lot of people. It's often been described as like the workhorse championship. It's a stepping stone to the world title, and it's a mid card title. And the European title is gone, hardcore title is gone. Now Intercontinental title is going to be gone. I don't know. To me, it felt really disrespectful, just getting rid of the Intercontinental title. I don't know. How'd you feel about the Intercontinental title going away?
I absolutely agree. I absolutely hated the stipulation then. I hate it now. I hate it more now. And during the broadcast, it wasn't before this match. It was before, I don't know if it was the Torrie Wilson match or another match, but they did a great video package on the Intercontinental Championship. And as it was going through, I just got angrier and angrier. Even though the package was beautiful, it was like, that's why you keep it. do you remember that package that played? I thought it was just completely, I don't know, it was gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And then, I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but everyone knows who won this match.
Yeah.
like you said, they kind of outright said the Intercontinental title wasn't on the line. So when Triple H won, he was only holding the world title, and the Intercontinental title was just gone. Kane handed it to the ref at the beginning of the match, and then it wasn't seen again until it was, revived. But that really irked me that, even the Ultimate Warrior was holding both titles when he won both.
Yeah, and after that match... Go on.
I just thought they should have at least had him hold on to it just to walk out with it. But because it was just kind of a dud way to retire such a prominent championship. And that I don't think there was US title at the time, was there?
Not yet. That wasn't until Vengeance.
Yeah, so they retired all the mid-card titles pretty much, except for tag team.
Yeah, it was so weird what they were doing.
It was a bizarre situation. But yes, now the match, I guess.
I mean, they just took one giant steaming dump all over the Intercontinental title at this time. It just reminds me of JR, at WrestleMania 17. You might as well urinate on the title. But yeah, so I guess we can move on to the actual match itself. This storyline, what else is there to say about this storyline that hasn't already been said? I think we all know how this storyline went. Kane has just come back from a major biceps injury. He is on fire, figuratively anyway. He's holding the Intercontinental title, and he was also holding the tag team titles at one point. So he has a lot of momentum going for him. And then he ends up becoming the number one contender for the world title. And Triple H, after the TLC match at Roulette, he says, "Let me ask you a question, Kane. How happy is Katie Vick? 10 years ago, you killed her. Kane, you are a murderer." And the next week, it gets even worse. Because I don't know how to say this. I really don't know how to say this. Triple H tried to imply that Kane had relations with Katie Vick. And he tries to ask the question, what did you do it before or after she's dead? That's the kind of storyline we're working with here, people. So, Angel, I almost hate to ask it because I'm pretty sure I know what your thoughts on this storyline are, but What are your thoughts on this storyline?
Oh, brother. This, I believe, just to start off, this won the most disgusting promotional tactic this for this year, for 2002, from the Observer Awards, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
There are so many ways you can make two of the most, I don't know, well over and talented stars in your company in a main event world title program. There's so many avenues you could go, but you end up with a murder and necrophilia program that, I don't know, it's just hard. Even at the time, it was like, what is this? This is like, it was enough to believe that, the whole Kane burned down the family cemetery, whatever storyline when he first came. That was crazy enough. And then you bring this one to the table. It's an insult of intelligence. I don't know. It had no place in a wrestling world, for sure. And the way it was executed was poor. The promos were cringeworthy. Kane trying to say it was an accident, cringeworthy. Triple H saying you're a murderer, just awful. I don't know. You could keep circling back to it, but which I think could have been a great main event program will always be, universally panned, and rightfully so, as one of the worst storylines in the history of any wrestling, entity, and especially one surrounding, the big gold belt. So there's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with you. It's a completely awful storyline, and it's not even a so bad it's good storyline. Like you can't even enjoy it. Ironically, it's an awful storyline. It shouldn't have happened. I feel really bad for really both Kane and Triple H. I feel bad for both of them having to take part in this, and you know the whole murder and necrophilia angle. It wasn't necessary. You didn't need to do something like that for your world title feud. It just shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, there's really nothing more to say on it. Like I said, two of the most talented wrestlers, especially at the time. I mean, you could say that they're washed up now, but during this time they were in their prime, especially Kane. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the actual match itself goes, Kane dominates Triple H to start, which is it's the proper like booking for the match. You want Kane to just sort of beat up Triple H, and Triple H ends up getting
Yeah.
the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And this match just gets overbooked the hell so badly.
And we're all shocked.
Like Ric Flair and Hurricane end up interfering in the match. Triple H ends up pedigreeing Hurricane on the floor.
Yeah.
Triple H attacks Kane with the sledgehammer, and Kane chokes on Triple H, but Flair pulls the referee out of the ring and sucker punches him. And Triple H pedigrees Kane to win. As far as the match itself goes, trying to take the storyline out of it, which it's impossible, but just trying to take it out of it, just trying to look at it as the match itself with no context of that horrible storyline whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the match itself, it was fine. It was what it was. It wasn't anything special, but it was a decent enough match.
Yeah, I think so too. I like that it didn't go too long. I think sometimes when things are overbooked and they're given a lot of time, on the air like this was. You know, there were a lot of video packages for this. But the match itself, I think it clocked in about 16 minutes, which for a world title match, that's just about good. If it's this kind of match, you know, if this had gone 30 minutes, it would have been a train wreck. But
Yeah.
I hated the finish.
Same.
The match itself was fine. I don't have any real complaints. The finish, though, I just hated every minute of it.
Yeah. Same here. I do think that Kane should have won here.
Yeah. This was the well-known reign of terror, or terrorizing. But
yeah.
I don't know. Kane was so hot right now, but the storyline and then losing this match just halted it to a complete and utter stop.
Honestly, I would say it outright killed it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Like Kane is never the same after this. He really doesn't get that momentum back until he unmasks and goes heel.
Yep, I agree.
So we go backstage, and Tracy admits to Stephanie that she made up the affair with Undertaker. So that storyline's kind of over and done with. And the next match, I'm honestly kind of excited to talk about. This is first things first. I mean, we'll kind of jump into the gun a little bit, but this is a great match. Rey Mysterio and Edge versus Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit for the brand new SmackDown Tag Team titles.
WWE Tag Team title.
Yeah, they're not the World Tag Team titles. They're just the WWE Tag Team titles. Mm-hmm. They're the National Tag Team titles.
Yeah.
So, what are you gonna say?
No, go ahead. You set it up. I've got a lot to say. I'm just excited about this one too. So
yeah. So Stephanie McMahon introduced brand new tag team title belts for SmackDown, and a tournament was going on. And Stephanie decided to go ahead and pull a Dario Cueto and pair her enemies together, such as Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. And Benoit and Angle were feuding at this time. Just had a good match in Unforgiven. And Stephanie said that if they refuse to team up, they'll be suspended for a year without pay, which is, why would you team those two up? Like, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was like some Dario Cueto stuff right here, making enemies tag team together. So yeah, there's a tournament that goes on, and Edge and Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit get to the finals. So this is the finals of the tournament, and Angle and Mysterio start things off. And I really like the psychology of this match. You know, they had a really good match, a really fun opening match at SummerSlam, and it's the same here. Mysterio does try and take Angle down. And I do like how the commentary, it does try and put it as like Mysterio is trying to take Angle down to his level.
Yeah, the start was perfect. You've got two of the best in the world, especially at this time, the heat of their careers. But yeah, the opening of the match was good. Psychology, I don't know. It as a tag team match, these are two thrown together tag teams. And they are so well oiled that you would think that they were Demolition or the Hart Foundation. It's like they've been tag team forever. It was a sight to see, especially because I haven't watched this era in a long time, and you just really realize how good these performers are.
Yeah, it's like if you had told me if I was watching this pay-per-view for the first time and I didn't know who any of these four were, and if you had told me that they were tag teams for like years, I would have believed you because these two teams do work together very well, both as a team, both as teams, and against one another. Like this match is so good.
It's and they both play their strengths perfectly. You know, Angle and Benoit are the technical just wizards. Edge and Mysterio are more the kind of high impact, high flying style. So, you know, Angle and Benoit, like, it would be hard to call them heels, but they played the heels so good in this match. They wore Edge down to the bone with their technical, with wrestling. And then he makes the hot tag, and in comes Mysterio flying around like crazy. They had, so, like you said, this took place in Little Rock, Arkansas, which you don't really think of as, a hot, smarky kind of crowd. Like, that's what you would, any kind of hot crowd now, that's what they are. But they had everyone in that arena standing. It was loud. It felt like a Mania crowd, the way that they sucked everyone in. And they had me jumping on my bed. I was watching it. The hot tag was just well executed as it gets. If you're a fan of tag team wrestling, this is an absolute clinic.
Yeah, and the thing with Arkansas, I could be wrong here, but I think this is the only major pay per view that Arkansas has ever gotten.
I would agree because I didn't remember that it was in Arkansas, and then when they said "Welcome to Little Rock," I was like, "Wow, I don't remember them having a pay per view for a long time."
Yeah, I think this is the first and only time they've had it. And I've actually been to Arkansas. It's a really cool, really cool state.
No, nothing against. I mean, they're just one of those crowds that usually think it's pretty fair weather. But during this match, well, with half of the SmackDown 6 and with 4, two Hall of Famers already, one can't talk about it, and one that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's just everything about it was excellent. Complete and utter excellence.
Yeah, so Edge and Benoit fight for a while, and Angle and Benoit do some mat wrestling. Mysterio gets the hot tag, and Edge gets a very close near fall with Angle. And this finishing sequence with Edge and Angle is great. Sort of renewing their rivalry that they had earlier on in the year. Angle and Edge, like they lock the angle lock on one another, but ultimately Edge ends up tapping out, and Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit are the first ever SmackDown Tag Team titles, or the WWE Tag Team titles, or WWE Tag Team champions, first ever WWE Tag Team champions. I love this match. I thought this was an absolutely fantastic match. I've said this before. I'm not really a big fan of tag, but if I had to watch one tag team match for the rest of eternity, this would be the match I would watch. This match is absolutely awesome. Definitely go out of your way to see it.
Definitely agreed. This was the one I was most looking forward to, and when I accepted this invitation to be on your show, and it delivered in every way. The finish was as hot as it gets. I was, I had goosebumps. It was so good because I haven't seen it in so long. I didn't remember what happened. And the near falls were, there was one near fall where I couldn't believe how close it was. I think it was, I think Edge was pinning Angle. And it literally, do you remember this one? It was like within a fraction of an inch of being a 3 count.
Yeah, it was I couldn't even believe close.
It. Yeah. And kudos to the commentary team also. I really enjoyed Taz and Michael Cole at this time. I know Michael Cole gets a lot of flack, but I think they had a good chemistry, and it really showed during this match. Taz has a lot of expertise, especially in the technical wrestling kind of idea, and Michael Cole really brought his A game. But everything about this match was just excitement from start to finish, and I want to watch it again already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Michael Cole and Taz fan, but I will agree that they did bring their A game to this match.
Yeah, and I also want to point out I always loved Edge with Rob Zombie, but that's just
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I'm not a big Alter Bridge fan, and I know a lot of people love the Metalingus theme, but I loved this theme. When he came out, I would always have goosebumps, but you know, I loved this version of Edge, even though I love the Radar Superstar too. But
yeah,
he.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to agree with you on Alter Bridge. Not really a huge fan of them. There's a few songs I like by them, but I don't know. They're not for me.
Yeah, I had to make sure I threw that in there since we're the metal ones around here.
Yep, totally. And yeah, Rob Zombie. Like honestly, I would go so far as to say that "Never Going to Stop" was Edge's best theme.
That's what I had in my notes because it really was. And I forgot that he had it during this time. So when it played, I got really excited. So
yeah, I do remember listening to the Black Cat Crossing mix on WWE Forcible Entry.
Oh, that album was so good.
Yeah,
so good.
I listened to it in my car quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember, the first time I ever got that album. I don't know when exactly. I don't think it was right around the time it was released, but it was shortly after it. Mm-hmm. And so I got it from Best Buy, and I ended up going to. I can't remember if it was Hollywood Video or Blockbuster Video. It was one of those. Mm-hmm. And I ended up renting WWE Crush Hour on GameCube. Yeah. And I was listening. And I love that game. Yeah, same here. And I was listening to that CD while playing that game and just hours of entertainment.
I love that game was so fun. Definitely one of the most underrated. Really is. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it a wrestling game, but a WWE game. It was phenomenal. I had so much fun playing that. Me and my brother.
Yeah. It's basically a Twisted Metal game, really.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah, I love that game. Also, I want to play it right now, actually. Just talking about it makes me want to... When makes me want to play it.
Yeah, GameCube had some hidden gems. This is one of them, I would say.
Totally. I'm looking at the GameCube games I have right now. I have Mario Kart Double Dash. I have Rocky, Spider-Man 2, True Crime New York City, Super Mario Sunshine, Beautiful Joe has moments, the Day of Reckoning games, WrestleMania 19. So yeah, the Batman Vengeance, Blood Rain. Yeah, the GameCube had some roadway games.
Yeah. Who developed the Crush Hour game? Was it THQ?
I think it was.
Okay. Where's Crash when you need him?
So yeah, we go backstage, and Undertaker demands that the doctor give him a shot.
I was kind of confused. Was it kind of like a steroid? Was it a painkiller? I don't know what.
I think it was supposed to be like. I think it was like either like a painkiller.
Like I don't know. That's my only guess.
Yeah, like a painkiller, or like some adrenaline shot or something like that.
Yeah, well, because the trainer was saying this is highly unethical of me, and I'm like, what the hell is he giving him then? Because if it's a painkiller, there are professional like NBA players will do that, or NFL players will do that during halftime. So I don't know. It was a weird sequence, but I know it's geared to show the Undertaker's toughness, which is what the whole main event was about.
Yeah.
So
where's Taker's minion when you need him?
Yeah.
So yeah, we move on to the second to last match of the night: Trish Stratus versus Victoria for the women's title, and Victoria just debuting here. Victoria is not a stranger to WTV. She was formerly one of the Godfather's ladies, and now she's pretty much her own character here. Her character isn't quite fleshed out just yet, not really, but she is getting there. And so this match, there's not really much to this match. You know, it was pretty short. The two brawl outside the ring. Victoria gets the advantage, and Trish Stratus does get a roll up win, but Victoria does attack her after the match, and it's very obvious that this feud isn't going to end here. It's going to continue. So, I thought this was an okay match, you know, but the fact that they weren't given too much time, it didn't really do them any favors. What do you think about this match, Angel?
Yeah, it's kind of the epitome of what was going on at this time for the women. I think it's two talented performers, but they didn't have much time. Victoria was just getting her legs, you know, in WWE. She's one of my favorites, and she's a big, powerful brute of a woman. And then you have Trish, who's just the beautiful but skilled in-ring technician. They had some good spots, but also some sloppy moments. It did the job. This is, to a T, your piss break before the main event. It's the cool down match from that amazing high octane tag team match into what is going to be, one of the most ridiculous matches you've ever seen coming up next. But that's just how it was at this time. But what I will say that I noticed, which I didn't really notice at the time, is at least Raw at this time with Victoria and Trish, they were trying to focus on the women wrestling more. But if you look at SmackDown, which I don't know why I never thought of this before, because SmackDown was always thought of as a wrestling show, and if you look at this show, the matches from SmackDown were much better than Raw. But the women, that's where the Tori Wilson thing was happening, and the Nydia thing was happening. So it was weird that it just stood out to me that, oh wow, Raw really was trying to kind of showcase the women, I guess, the best that they could, and SmackDown was trying to exploit them. But that's just my thought on it.
Yeah, it was very, very weird because SmackDown didn't really have much of a women's division in general.
Yeah,
they didn't even have a title.
There was one title, yeah. So that is true. They still call them divas, though. Even though it was a women's championship,
yeah,
they were very quick to... And also, the crowd was chanting, "We want puppies," so that's just kind of showing you a sign of the times.
Yeah. Prince sign of the times or Harry Styles sign of the times?
Always Prince.
Yeah, totally.
Always Prince.
So yeah, this was an okay match. It was what it was, and now we move on to the main event: Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker for the WWE title inside Hell in a Cell. Before we even get to that match, there was an angle that took place before this match. Rikishi got interviewed at The World and said that Hell in a Cell changed his career and predicts The Undertaker to win.
Yeah, I liked that callback because they were kind of showcasing, if you beat or The Undertaker makes people famous in this match, and they showed, him punching Michaels off the side of the cage, throwing or both of Mick Foley's ridiculous bumps during '98's King of the Ring match, and then Rikishi's dump into the hay truck, whatever it was.
It was a hay truck because the context behind that was that leading up to that match, Vince McMahon was like, he was very against that match. He was very against
Mm-hmm.
having the six top superstars in the company in that match. And so, like midway through the match, Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe end up like driving this hay truck, and he orders the drivers to like literally like drag the cell to
Mm-hmm.
literally take it down. And like they do end up like taking the door off, and Mick Foley comes in, and he has security like take away Vince. Honestly, just watching clips from that match, it made me want to go back and watch that match.
No, I want to go back and watch it too. I remember watching it and just being in awe. It could have been a disaster, but it was well executed, and the right man won. And so,
yeah. So moving on to Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell for the WWE title.
One more quick word.
Yeah, go on.
I really liked the world. I always wanted to visit it. I thought it was a cool idea. I understand why it didn't work, but I really enjoyed, watching that. People were showing up at this restaurant to watch WWE, and I was too young at this time to be able to travel cross country to New York, but man, I wanted to go there so bad. I wish they had something. I wish they had something like that still, but that's just me being a kid. Anyway, you can go back to the match now.
Yeah, I mean,
I just had that in my notes. So.
Oh yeah, I do miss the world as well. I think this might be one of the last times that we see it because I know.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too.
Yeah, because I know it plays a part at Survivor Series. I know the Raw 15th anniversary, no, Raw 10th anniversary took place there. But other than those two events, I don't think we see much of the world from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It will always live on, and SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
Oh yeah, man, another great game.
Oh yeah. So Hell in a Cell, Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. The feud was already pretty intense coming into Unforgiven, because they dragged Undertaker's wife Sarah into this. And now Brock Lesnar ends up breaking The Undertaker's hand with a propane tank. How dare you, Hank Hill? Your propane and propane accessories broke The Undertaker's hand.
Oh man, I remember watching that angle live, and when he actually did it, and The Undertaker just screaming bloody murder. It was so bad.
But yeah, I'm trying to figure out if Taker's hand was legitimately broken or if it was just something that they did for the angle.
I'm pretty sure they did it for the angle. I mean, the hit actually looked pretty brutal. There was one camera angle from behind the fence that looked like you really got it good, but I don't know. I think it was fabricated, but
yeah. And so the feud gets even more intense because Paul Heyman brings out a woman from Undertaker's past, and Tracy alleges that she and Undertaker ended up having an affair as recently, which is not good news because Undertaker's wife Sarah is heavily pregnant at this time. I think she's about to give birth like any moment now at that point in time. So it definitely gets a lot personal. And now Stephanie McMahon is allowing Undertaker to wear his cast in the Hell in a Cell because that was a big thing. Heyman did not want the cast in Hell in a Cell, but yeah.
The storyline with the ex-girlfriend was just stupid.
Oh yeah, the woman that portrayed Tracy was such a bad actress.
It was awful. There was no reason for that. I don't know where it came from, but I thought it was awful. That's the only word I could think of it.
Yeah.
They, again, just like the Triple H came. These are two of your, especially your main veteran with your main rookie star, and you give them this crap to work with. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I just found it kind of unnecessary too, because
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the best way
yeah,
I can think of it. It's
yeah, they were
totally
just,
unnecessary.
yeah, they were overcompensating at that point because the feud was already so intense. There was no need to bring Tracy into it. And so, as far as the actual match goes, Brock ends up taking down Taker to start things off, but Taker immediately uses his cast as a weapon. Lesnar works over Taker's broken hand, and Taker ends up busting Brock open with the cast. This is the third time that Brock Lesnar has been busted open in WWE, because the first time he was busted open was at Unforgiven. Then on the Go Home show on SmackDown, Taker busted Brock open with the cast, and now Taker does it again. So it's the third time that Brock has bled in WWE. How I'm keeping track of that, I don't know, but it's just something I do. So Taker ends up using the cell against Brock, and Taker uses the ceiling to drop a knee on Brock on the apron. And that's something that's actually pretty interesting about this match, that both guys use like the ceiling of the cell itself to kind of help them out with moves that they're doing. And I can't remember any other Hell in a Cell match where that happens.
No, I don't. And I think it's great, especially for this match, because you can, go with the Mick Foley one, but this is as brutal of an affair as you get. And they were really selling it. Like, they needed that ceiling, the metal truss to hang on to keep them upright, basically. If they were going to perform a high-risk move, they needed the help. Because that was so physical. So, at least that's my ideology on it, and why they were doing it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And here's another thing that I love here. Paul Heyman actually tries to reach into the cell, and Taker ends up big booting him. Heyman gets busted open, and Taker uses Heyman's tie to hit him with the cell, and Brock accidentally runs into Heyman.
Oh, that was a great spot.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that they brought Heyman into it, and I love that they busted him open, because it tells the story that even if you're on outside the cell, even if you're not in the cell itself, you can still suffer the wrath of the cell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like me and Biff were saying at SummerSlam. This was around the time where Paul Heyman would actually get involved in the match, and that doesn't happen anymore.
No. He screams just as much still as he did then.
Yeah. Yeah, he screams a lot in this match.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, you could really hear, Brock! Do something!
Even when he's laying on the floor, busted open.
My favorite was he was like, "We're losing! We're losing!" Oh my god. So yeah, pretty much all three men, everyone except the referee, were busted open about 10 minutes into this match. And that just shows you how brutal it is. I don't know if Undertaker was supposed to be as busted open as he was, but man, was he flowing.
Yeah, he bleeds a lot in this
It
match.
Was
like
Eddie
Guerrero Judgment Day 2004.
Oh god, yeah.
So Brock ends up tying Taker to the ring with a belt and uses a chair on him. And Brock takes Taker's cast off of Taker, exposing Undertaker's broken hand, courtesy of Hank Hill. And Brock uses.
I love the prop of the cast. It brought a great story to the match, and even the crowd was invested in it. When Brock pulled it off and held it up, the crowd was like in awe. So you knew that they were sucked in at that very moment. So using that as a plot device was a very good idea, and I think they pulled that off extremely well.
Quite literally.
Yeah, exactly.
So Brock does end up taking Taker's cast off of Taker. Brock uses the ceiling to kick Taker on the turnbuckle, and Taker uses the seal to hit an elbow drop. And Brock ends up busting Taker wide open with the steel steps. And the finish of the match comes when Brock reverses the tombstone into an F5 for the win. Brock retains the title and goes up on the cell to celebrate as a very bloody Undertaker looks above. Who can stop Brock Lesnar? Who can end his title reign? I guess we'll never know. So that's the show. And what did you think of the show, Angel?
Well, one last thought on the match. The ending was superb. The reversal into the tombstone where it looked like he was going to tombstone the Undertaker, and then he flipped him into an F5. That just shows you the freakish athlete. Undertaker's, 320-something pounds, and Brock just threw him up on his shoulders with ease, and it's a sight to see. This match was as brutal as it gets, and I just wanted to throw it out there that this is how I remember the Hell in a Cells, and this is how you blow off a feud. This is how you use one of these plot devices, not as a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. This isn't a gimmick match. This is, I'm going to destroy you, or you're going to have to send me to hell to get what you want, or to finish me off. And that's what they did here. So this is an underrated Hell in the Cell match, I'd say. It's not often talked about. But man, that's not much more I could say. It was brutal. It was brutal to watch. It was eye-opening, but I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable in that way. For as good as I wanted to pick a favorite match for the whole evening, which could have easily been the tag team match because of how technically sound it was, but the emotion and the brutality of this match, I almost want to give it to the Cell match. So,
yeah,
but as a whole for the show, they're the highest of highs and lowest of lows. I thought at certain points, there were a few matches, like you said, that easily could have been on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, like the World Tag match, and the Cruiserweight match, and the Flair and RVD match could have easily just been, throwaway matches on free TV. But the women's matches were what they were. It's the era that, it's not quite the Attitude Era, but you can tell they're trying to do some good things. Maybe not the storylines, but in the ring, they tried. Katie Vick, there's not much more to say, but two phenomenal matches that are going to go down in history. One, the WWE Tag Team Championship match, one of my favorite Tag Team Championship matches, or tag team matches, period, that I've ever seen. And if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. There's just no other way to say it. It's an absolute clinic by two teams that aren't teams, and it shows you why SmackDown during this era was must-watch TV, especially if you're a fan of, wrestling as wrestling, because these four performers put on a show of shows. And then the main event, Hell in a Cell, it was their biggest story. It's their biggest title, and it blew off in their biggest match. And Brock Lesnar beat, and the commentator said it right. He went through Hulk Hogan, then he went through The Rock, and then now he just beat the Undertaker. Who's there left to beat Brock Lesnar? We know who it was, but that's for a different Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. That's another story all on its own. But for the lows, it was, if you don't want to think about the storylines and think about the matches, this pay-per-view did the job. And the crowd was hot during the hot points, so it felt good. The ending should have been what it should have been, and that's pretty much what I could say. I hadn't watched this pay-per-view in 15 years, and aside from you making me have Al Wilson back in my memory bank, I'm happy to have sat through it again. So, and I probably will tonight watch that tag team match again because I just want to see it again. It was that good.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. Your closing argument, sir.
Well, honestly, I thought this event was pretty mediocre for the most part. I really liked SummerSlam and I really liked Unforgiven. I didn't like this one so much. I think I would say it's a bit better than Vengeance. I think Vengeance 2002 is the worst pay-per-view that's been looked at on the show so far. I thought a lot of these matches were just kind of, I don't know, they were just like you said, they were just matches that easily could have been on like Raw or SmackDown. They could have been like TV matches, As far as the SmackDown tag team title match goes, that was a great tag team match, absolutely fantastic. Hell in a Cell match, absolutely brutal. It was a great Hell in a Cell match, one of the best Hell in a Cell matches ever. And I would go so far as to say, not only did Undertaker put over Brock so well in this match, I think this match absolutely more than maybe any other match, like I would say more than Rock and Brock at SummerSlam, I would argue that this match made Brock Lesnar a star. And I would also argue that this is Brock Lesnar's best match in WWE.
That's quite a statement, but I would agree. It showed a complete different side of him that he had. Paul Heyman was there. He was on the outside. He was screaming, yeah, but he couldn't help him. This was all Brock, and he had to give up some of his, athletic skills and, stoop to a low that he's not used to stooping. And when he hit the Undertaker with those steps, it was brutal. When you hear that thud, I mean, kudos to the production crew and to how they delivered it, because it looked just like he was killing the Undertaker. It was unbelievable to see. And they did it twice, and they both looked amazing, both those shots. So
yeah, and the thing with the main event is like Hell in a Cell matches nowadays, it's mainly just it's just a match that just happens to take place inside a cell. And and the thing with the blood in this match, I think blood it can be overused at times. I think it can be used like inappropriately at times. But this match, the blood meant something. This match being in Hell in a Cell meant something. Everything had a meaning to this match. And that's why it's so great.
Yep.
So overall, I thought it was a pretty mediocre show for the most part, but there were two great matches on it that you just have to check out. Like, they're absolutely fantastic matches. The tag team title match on SmackDown and the Hell in a Cell match. Those two are great matches.
Yep. Do yourself a favor. Watch those 2 matches. That's, well, 5 definite Hall of Famers, 1 that won't be, but that's a whole other ball game between those 6 performers. But
So I think that just about does it for this
mm-hmm.
episode. I guess it'll be time to do our plugs here. Angel, where can they find you at?
Well, y'all can find me usually on the daily or the nightly on Cage Side Seats. My handle's OneWingedAngel, so I'm not hard to find. I'm usually there when I'm at work, when I'm at home, when I'm at the bar. I'm everywhere, so I'm easy to find. I'm on Twitter. You can find me at AngelSeth16. I am open for bookings now that tax season is over, so if anyone wants to have me on, I'm very available. So, yep. But mostly, you can find me in the daily and lighting fires in the nightly. So, or posting, gifs of metal music just for our friend Matt here. So,
nice.
I believe someone asked me yesterday, "Are you a fan of Dio?" in the daily, and that was, a stupid question. What do you think, Matt? Am I a fan of Dio?
I don't know. Are you? Oh yeah. Yeah, you absolutely are. You absolutely
one of his
are.
Oh my god, he's one of my favorite. That just a godlike voice. Anyway, that's me. I'm OneWingedAngel. I'm the diva of the CSS. Plus, I love metal music, so catch me there.
I mean, I think you'll be happy to know that I actually just put Black Sabbath's The Dio Years CD in my car today. So
the Matmobile is better than it's ever been.
Totally. But yeah, as far as the plugs go, you can find me on Cage Side Seats. I'm in the daily, I'm in the nightly. I'm also in the NXT live threads as well as the SmackDown live threads. So I'm pretty much everywhere on that site. You can also catch me on Twitter at MailMat15. I'm currently working on making an account for this show. I've been pretty lazy in doing that, but I promise I will make it soon. I promise I will make a Twitter account for
I was looking for that
podcast.
I was looking for that when I was trying to, promote.
Yeah, I need to make it soon. I'm really lazy.
I know. You'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, you can catch me on Twitter at MailMat15. You can catch me on Cage Side Seats. And so that's all the plugs I have. And next week's episode, this is something I am so excited to do. I am so excited for this episode. This is, I think, could be one of my favorite episodes that we do on the show. One of my favorite episodes. This could be a great episode. Next week, it's going to be a double episode because we are going to be taking a look at not only one thing, we're going to be looking at 2 things because we are going to be looking at WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and we are going to be looking at WWE Anthology.
Wow, that's huge.
Oh yeah,
I love the video game. I remember buying that CD at Best Buy and blasting it in my Angel Mobile back in the day.
I still have those CDs in my car
with my 12-inch subwoofers, blasting. That's gonna be a huge show.
Oh yeah, I don't know who the guests will be next week, but I'll work on it, and so that will be an episode you can look forward to. I know I'm looking forward to it. I still have.
I'll be in Seattle, so I won't be available, unfortunately. But
you would be awesome on that episode.
Oh, that's right up my alley too. But I am going to be listening for sure. but I'll be on vacation. A much earned vacation.
Yep. Congrats, Angel. Hope you enjoy Seattle.
Oh, this diva needs to lay back for a little bit. Yes, I still use the term diva, but in a friendly sort of way, not in a, exploitation sort of way.
So yeah, next week will be SmackDown Shut Your Mouth NW Anthology. It's a big episode. I'm very much looking forward to it.
All 3 CDs of the anthology?
All 3 CDs.
Oh, man, that's going to be good.
Yep. I still have those CDs in my car. So
do I. I have them in my big... Well, I don't have a car anymore, but I still have my big book of CDs. And those 3 are prominently fixtured in the front, along with, all the volumes.
Nice.
Like I said, I popped in volume 4 the other day. Awesome. What a great CD that was.
I remember you talking about that. I remember you talking about the Rocks theme on there.
Yeah, and Christian's first solo theme, the Blood Brother theme.
I love that theme.
He rarely used it, but it's so good. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And then Triple H's My Time theme, which I absolutely love. But
yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H.
Yep. Yo, Dunn, keep your finger off the switch.
Oh, you stupid rules.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth and the Anthology is next week. Don't know who the guests are going to be. Don't know who the guests are going to be for that episode just yet, but I will definitely figure it out. So that's all for this episode. No Mercy. Hope you enjoyed listening to it. I definitely had a good time reviewing it. Looking back at No Mercy, I want to just go ahead and thank OneWingedAngel for appearing on this show. I've been wanting him to appear on this show since the very beginning, but I was finally able to get him on.
Yeah, tax season's a brutal time, but I'm free now, so we'll have more, especially if you go into more CDs.
Oh yeah, totally.
But I had been meaning to watch this match. I wanted to watch this pay-per-view, especially when they had their Hell in a Cell match a couple SummerSlams ago, Brock and Undertaker, because this never gets mentioned.
Yeah,
but I was very happy to be part of this. I had forgotten about Al Wilson, but that'll live forever now. But I'm glad you had me on. I'm just glad to be here. I'm getting pretty tired, though. The sun's wearing me out.
Yeah.
In our horrible, 80-degree California weather.
But yeah, I will be reviewing more CDs as we go on. I'll be reviewing like Theme Addict Volume 6. I'll be reviewing Reckless Intent.
All right. Yeah, I like that one too. So yeah. Not as good as Forcible Entry, but maybe you'll have to do a side special on Forcible Entry.
Yeah, I might have to because I do like that CD quite a bit.
It's phenomenal. Every track on there is good. So anyway, we could talk about music all day long.
Oh yeah. So thanks to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. See ya.